The Michigan Inquirer, May 09, 2023. The following entries were transcribed by Michigan State University senior Marley Yarborough. Last weekend, she and 3 fellow students were camping in Manistee National Forest while researching the Michigan Dogman, a local legend recently popularized within certain online communities. There, they discovered a journal amongst the remnants of an abandoned cabin. Written inside its one-letter cover was property of God. I don't know the date, and I don't care enough to find out. July something. It's hard to keep track since I started taking these stupid pills. I hate him. Almost as much as I hate this journal. Almost as much as I hate you, Dr. Nilsson. Writing isn't therapeutic when you know your therapist is planning to read it. Your entire racket is a scam. And I'm not taking your fake medicine anymore. Do you seriously think patients are writing their innermost thoughts for you to jerk off to? They're not. We all edit ourselves, despite whether it's intentional. Learning to feign certain emotions just comes with the territory. Good people don't exist. Only good actors. I'm pretty sure that's a quote, but hell if I know who said it. Go ahead, doctor. Blame my cynical outlook on watching my mother die. Tell me again how it caused my antisocial tendencies. We have all the time in the world, now that you've convinced Dad to put me in weekly sessions. Heaven forbid you. Text illegible. I'll never forgive that selfish bastard for dragging me out onto the stump. Life sucked without him ruining my last real summer break. He knows I'm going to stay inside the whole time. He didn't even tell me what we were hunting. Text illegible. He just repeats the same bullshit over and over. Give it a chance, Glenn. Or, come on, where's that Delaney spirit? I'm sick of it. Day 2. I hate this place. There's no way I'll last 3 weeks. I doubt I can make it through 1. I'm using the bathroom in an outhouse for text illegible. I couldn't fall asleep until almost 5 a.m. because of all the howling, and I'm sure it'll be the same tonight. I thought it was supposed to be peaceful out here. What a crock of shit. 12 men is lucky I can't call a taxi. Remainder of entry illegible. Day 4. Or maybe it's 5. That's hard to keep track of. There's no electricity, no phones, and nowhere to go. There's an old generator out here, but it only works a third of the time. This isn't how we should be living in 1998. We are on the cusp of the 21st century, yet we are in this backwoods hellhole like it's 1898. It's bad enough the wolves don't stop howling until sunrise. But now, someone has gone through our trash. Garbage was strewn all the way around the cabin, like they were making a moat. Dad blamed raccoons, but I have trouble believing anything other than a human could form such a perfect parameter. I just don't see how another person would be way out here or why they'd bother. If someone were hungry enough to dig through our trash, why make a huge display? Dad claims he slept through it, but no one could have slept through that. Yet when I try to argue, he says I'm being paranoid and brushes off. I haven't been in the same room with him for longer than 10 minutes since the drive up here. We don't even eat together. Every morning I hear him drive away just as I'm drifting off, and every evening just after nightfall, he returns and goes to sleep. He seems on edge, even more so than when Mom died. But if I ask him about it, he denies everything. I'm going to be the person who proves it's possible to die from boredom. One day, he'll come back and I'll just be lying here, dead. I wonder what the autopsy will say. I hope they charge him with murder, because that's exactly what it'll be. I only wish it would have happened before I had to clean up all that trash. Dad should have been the one home when the man broke in. But no. He was out drinking with his buddies. Mom was the one being strangled, while I hid under a bed. My 18th birthday is going to be the last day I waste words on that asshole. He can die alone for all I care. It's day Shit, I still don't know. Maybe I should have just written the dates. I wrote my last entry the day before yesterday, I think. This morning started like any other. Dad left at the usual time, but he isn't back yet. Now it's 11 and I don't know what to do. I don't know if he's hurt. Or worse. Do I go looking for him? I don't even know which direction he went. If something did happen, then I'd be completely stranded. He takes the truck like he's afraid I'll drive off with it. And sure, I probably would have. But look what's happened. Text illegible. I'm completely alone out here. I'd be grateful for Dr. Nelson at this point. At least there's no howling for a change. I guess even wolves need a break every now and then. Or maybe they're just too full tonight. Text illegible. No, I can't think that way. He has to come back. He has to. Maybe the truck broke down and he's waiting for morning so he can flag someone down. Or maybe he got hurt and had to drive straight to a hospital. Either way, he would send help. He has his faults, but he wouldn't just abandon me here. He couldn't. Could he? No. No, I'm sure he wouldn't do that. Not like this. It's almost 3, and he's still not back. I have to go out there when the sun rises. I don't know what else to do. I also don't know where to look. Maybe I should give my other theories time to play out. What if he's sending help but I run off when all I had to do was stay put? Text illegible. But if I don't go, he'll die. I don't know if he told anyone our location. It would take weeks for people to realize we were missing. And even then, help could be sent in the wrong direction. He must have told Grandpa. I hope there's enough supplies to last that long. Grandpa might assume we just stayed late. As far as he's concerned, the only medicine I need is a good kick in the ass. Dad is dead. I guess this is technically the same day as my last entry, but not for much longer. I took advantage of the quiet night to sleep for a few hours before making any life or death decisions. This journal will probably end up being a record of my final words, rather than a therapy aid. It looked like a storm was brewing when I left, but by some miracle, it held off. There's only one way out of the cabin's clearing, but the tire tracks soon diverged in multiple directions. Thankfully, I found a roll of trail marking ribbon and I used it liberally. At that point, I still had a somewhat hopeful outlook. I was far more frightened at the prospect of getting lost than finding a scene of carnage that would haunt me for the remainder of my days. As if I weren't already set in that regard. Text illegible. I searched for hours, without finding anything before finally turning back. I intended to follow my marker straight to the cabin, but I couldn't help. Text illegible. Was the widest path I'd seen yet. I followed the new tracks for at least 20 minutes before coming to a huge drop-off. And my heart sank as my eyes followed them right over the edge. I don't know how long I stood there. I think I was waiting for some sign of life. But none came. Eventually I laid on my stomach and peered over the edge, at the bottom of a large ravine. It was Dad's truck. It had landed upside down, but there was no mistaking it. I knew what I would see if I went down there. But I still had to see it. I barely remember the descent. I called out upon approaching the wreckage, but then I noticed the stench and the blood. Kneeling to see inside the shattered driver's window, I collapsed at the sight of long, dead eyes staring back at me. Dad remained strapped to his seat, but his head was turned at a sharp angle. and what remained of his face was frozen in a perpetual state of sheer terror. I accidentally placed a hand in the pool of blood collecting beneath him, and puked everywhere. As badly as I wanted to run away, there were things I needed to collect from the cab. When I felt composed enough for the first attempt, I realized the truck had more damage than it should have received in the fall. There were deep claw marks along the side, and one of the back tires had been ripped to shreds, like some massive dog had used it as a chew toy. The thought sent a new wave of nausea through me, but I managed to crawl into the passenger side. At first I assumed Dad's neck was broken, and it probably was, but the reason it looked so strange is because it was nearly severed. Plus, his torso was ripped open, and both of his arms were gone. I couldn't find them anywhere. Something inside of me clicked. I understand why they call it survival mode now. It suddenly became much easier to ignore my father's mangled corpse in favor of collecting his gear. In the end, I walked away with a rifle, a box of text illegible, which was a great comfort to have on the hike back. I just wish I could have found the other gun. The climb out of the canyon was much more difficult than the trip down, but getting back gave me something to focus on, something besides the awful reality of my predicament. I'm trapped in the woods with very limited supplies. I'm gonna die here, and that's all there is to it. If I had any sense at all, I would try to find help before exhausting all of my resources. But I can't let go of the hope that someone will find me before that happens. Or maybe I'm just too afraid of facing whatever killed Dad. Either way, I guess everyone was right all along. I'm a coward. I just want to go home. The howling started up again. It was only quiet for that one night. Now, it's at least 3 days later, and it's like it's never stopped. I still can't believe Dad is actually gone. Just like that. Shit, I'm probably not far behind him. It's so weird what stories will get stuck in your head when you're alone in the dark. The week before we came here, one of my friends said he used to camp in this forest. But not anymore. I thought he was just trying to scare me when he said his mom saw something with the head of a dog that walked like a man. He made it sound like a story you tell to scare little kids, so I didn't think anything of it. She said its eyes made her feel. Page missing. The only thing worse than hearing strange noises is hearing nothing at all. The mind doesn't like silence. If you don't give it something to listen to, it fills the void on its own. It always feels like I'm being watched. Like something frightened all of the bugs and all the birds into hiding. And now it's just waiting. But waiting for what? I don't know. That's the question, isn't it? Waiting for me? God, I hope not. First paragraphs illegible. I know what I saw. That thing out there isn't a wolf. Wolves don't walk on their hind legs. It can't be a Dogman either, though. There's no such thing. It has to be some hairy-ass hermit wearing a mask. There's probably some trick to make the eyes glow like that. I bet that guy hasn't left the forest in 20 years. He probably wants to line a coat with my skin. But then, what made the claw marks on Dad's truck? Damn it, I'm losing my mind. A dark line strikes through the page, tearing a hole through the middle, likely the result of being startled by the following event. Jesus Christ. A window shattered. I wish Dad were alive just so I could kill him myself. If I... Text illegible. I can hear the asshole walk over the broken glass. I'm locked in the bedroom with a table jammed against the door. But solid is not a word I would use to describe it. I'm gonna die here. I can feel it. I know I am. I don't want to die. I thought I did. But I don't. I really don't. God. It's getting closer. Why? Why is this happening? Its footsteps. They're so slow. Why won't it just get it over with? Is it toying with me? I don't know what to do. Reminder of page made illegible by ink smears. I think it's finally over. I heard its footsteps fade into the distance as they retraced their route over the broken glass. But not before it had its fun with me. I put all my weight into holding the door closed as it tried to force its way inside. For the first several minutes, it just stood there, sniffing, before a high-pitched whine preceded the unmistakable sound of claws tearing at the wood. As its patience wore thin, the door began to splinter beneath its weight, and I knew that was my last chance to shoot it. By then, I didn't care if it was a person, an animal, or both. In one motion, I raised the gun, stood, and fired through the door, as its center cracked open like an egg with the creature's last impact. The resulting sounds were deafening, from a combination of the gunshot, the exploding door, and the shrill cry of a wounded animal. I could barely hear its retreat over the buzzing in my brain. Only when I heard the swinging door slam shut did I lower the rifle and rush to the window. I never entertained the notion of killing it. If things like that were easy to kill, it would already be on display at some museum, where tourists could gawk at it. I was only trying to survive a little longer. No matter how hopeless your situation might be, it's awfully hard to just roll over and die. Still, I had to get one more look at it. I had to know if I really saw what I thought I saw. And I did. I swear I did. I'm not crazy. I've never been more clear in my life since I stopped taking Dr. Nelson's poison. There's no better way to describe that thing other than a Dogman. It looks like a rabid Rottweiler suddenly learned to walk on its hind legs. It's hard to say whether its fur was black or just filthy and matted. Its arms and legs were covered in patchy bald spots, but it was hard to see with only the light of a waning moon. For one brief instant it turned towards the cabin, and I could see a bloody wound on its right shoulder. Overall, it seemed more angry than hurt or frightened. If I'm still here when it returns, I don't think I'll be this lucky a second time. I have to leave. I slept as long as I dared, but I have to go now. If I don't find help by nightfall, I'll have to decide whether to come back or keep going. Either way, I don't expect to survive very long past that point. I'm gonna die, and this journal will rot away before another soul sees it. I don't know. Maybe if I shove it under the floorboards, some of it will last long enough, or it will rot away even faster. In the end, what does it really matter? I bet Dr. Nelson tells everyone I likely killed Dad before offing myself. I hope they don't believe him. I'd give anything to... Reminder of entry illegible. Though this is the final entry, it's noteworthy to mention that several pages have been removed for time allowance. Update, May 16th, 2023. What started as an innocent college project turned deadly for one MSU student when a group of 4 returned to the Manistee National Forest to investigate a possible cold case from 1998. Many details are still unknown as authorities have yet to provide an official statement, but some sources claim police failed to investigate due to a theory the journal may have been faked, or at the very least the product of a mentally ill teen. Regardless, the tragic death of 20-year-old Patrick Morris is all too real. During their amateur investigation, students became startled by an unidentified source and fled the area. In their panic, they became separated and were forced to regroup at the parking lot as it grew dark. 3 students returned safely, but all attempts to contact the missing 4th were met with failure. The official search began shortly after, and a gruesome scene was soon discovered. What remained of Morris painted a clear though horrific picture of a wildlife attack. Be sure to stay tuned for further updates as the situation develops.